And, of course, he won't tell me the ending yet or who's going to play his part, but he's all excited about it.
Very good. It's a very strange thing when you see somebody who is, for a real celebrity like him, to see somebody playing his part. And I can remember when I was making that Castles series for Discovery Channel a few years ago, and we went to one of the castles in France where King Richard had been, and as well as being presenter, I was for a few seconds of the film playing King Richard, and I wondered if the real one was looking down from the sky and say, hey, I wasn't that same brick outhouse shape as that guy. I was tall.
I can announce this, by the way, because you were so gracious to come to Los Angeles several months ago when we were taping pilots for the Sci-Fi Network.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't even had a chance to tell you this. They have picked the dates that they're going to air the programs.
Wonderful.
And so it's the week of November 16th. I will get you your specific date because you are on one of the pilots, and I haven't told anybody that yet.
Hey, well, there we
you go.
That we can all share the pilot. That will be terrific, George. I look forward to that very much.
Now, back to time travel.
Yeah.
Do you believe time travel is going to be possible?
Yes, I do. And what I think is that the problem that we face with it is that we don't at this moment know quite what time is, and we've got to analyze it. You know, when a businessman like myself, as a management consultant, what I'm teaching, I've got to plan things out. I've got to find out what the examination is that my students have to pass and what's in the syllabus. So we've got to know what time is before we can plan a way through it, like planning a way to get a student through an exam. So it might be an extra dimension on the Einstein suggestion. In that case, as we can travel through the other three, why can't we travel through time? So that would make it, in the broadest sense, theoretically possible to create a machine that would go through. Now, it might also be something entirely different. Maybe it's a sort of a substrate. I can't think of a better term than that, but a substrate for the other three. Maybe time is the foundation, and the other three dimensions are the walls that come up from it. It could be, at the other extreme, not there at all. There are some philosophers who believe that time is just a product of human thinking.
Yes.
In other words, we imagine the thing we call time because that's a convenient way of explaining the changes that take place around us and inside us. We can't establish the idea of cause and effect unless we know which came first. So we have to have a time concept in order to go on. Then, when we try to examine time scientifically, we are trying to use part of a scientific toolkit that includes time. So we're trying to examine one of the components of the universe, and we need that component in order to examine it. And the way I think of it, because my grandfather was a blacksmith, I imagine a blacksmith who is trying to make a hammer and an anvil, and he hasn't got one yet to make them with. He's got to make them in order to make them. And you see what I mean? See how that applies to time? We've got to find out what it is without having time as a scientific part of the toolkit. But there we go. There's Einstein, there's gravity, and the clock paradox. If you're close to a massive body with a powerful gravitational field, Einstein says that the clock runs slower. Now, if we can do it with gravity, maybe gravity is going to be the power when we know more about it, which will take us to the invention, the creation, the development of a time machine. The two mysteries may link if Einstein's right, and he's right more often than he's wrong.
See, I was trying to figure out, how could we go back into time when events have already happened and they're gone? They're gone. And then I came up with this silly theory, Lionel, that maybe life is like a tape recorder. And it doesn't matter when it's done, but everything is always there. It's always recorded.
Now, that is a terrific thought, George. And if I could just started us with that idea, that there are two schools of thought among the philosophers when they look into time, and they call themselves, once you get two philosophers together, you've got an argument. And there's one group who are referred to as the presentists, and they're the guys who say that the present is all that matters, this moment now when you and I are speaking, this precise split second, this instanton of time, and that the future that we're looking forward to and the past that we try to remember have much less substance than this powerful moment. Now, the eternalists, on the other hand, have a completely different point of view, and it goes along with your illustration of the tape recorder. An eternalist says that the past and the present and the future all have equal validity, that every inch of that tape is just as real as every other inch of that tape. And it doesn't matter whether we're looking at the tape for 1066 and William the Conqueror or for 1492 and Chris Columbus. What we're looking at is something that is just as much a part of the universe, whether it's past, present, or future, and that just as you can move your tape and play the first 5 seconds or the last 5 seconds or the middle 5 seconds.
Or fast forward it.
Yeah, or fast forward or rewind. And now, if the eternalists are right and time has equal validity, whether it's gone. You see, instead of saying that Johnny Smith won a gold medal, put it in the past tense, that Johnny Smith won a gold medal in the 2008 Olympics, they would say Johnny Smith wins a gold medal. They keep it in an eternal present.
Yes.
And they say that from the vantage point of eternity, if you and I could stand there, we could look at 1008, 2008, and 3008, theoretically, and say, oh yes, they're all real, and they all coexist. And of course that brings us into all sorts of theological ideas when we think about God as immortal and changeless, always there. The eternalist idea of time seems to fit in better with the religious belief that God is both everywhere at once and yet outside time and greater than time. And maybe the theologians and philosophers are pointing us in the right direction this time.
So isn't it possible that the past, the present, and the future might all be working simultaneously?
Yes, I think it is. And the only problem that I have with looking at a future which is fixed, like an eternalist might argue, is that you and I at this moment, let's suppose that someone phones in and we are doing our best, because we are those kind of men, we are doing our best to make that listener who phones in feel at home. Mm-hmm. If he or she is nervous, we do our best to help and encourage them. We listen carefully to their question, and we do our best to come up with a relevant and helpful reply. Now, because we believe that that's the way we should treat other people, the way that we ourselves would like to be treated, we have a moral, we have an ethical angle to our lives in which we think it's right to treat other people with kindness. Now, if we make another decision, if somebody will say, who is a tyrant, a dictator, the head of an evil secret police force, wants to damage people, then he's got a choice. Now, it all depends on whether one makes a good decision or a bad decision as to what the future will be like. And maybe it's the decision we make at this second which changes the future.
When we come back, it's déjà vu. Does it get any better than that? Up next, Lionel Fanthorpe, as we continue talking about time and time travel. Déjà vu up next. In the next hour, we talk with him about the mysteries and secrets of voodoo. Welcome back, Lionel Fanthorpe, our special guest tonight. Lionel, déjà vu.